This train station may not look scary at first, but believe me, it's the scariest one I have ever been to. Out of nowhere, a strange noise came from the train tunnel. The disturbing sound grew louder, even affecting everything around it. Sebastian, a man in the crowd, felt that something was wrong. He thought about walking away, but waited a little too long. People near the tunnel started reacting to the creepy sound. They were visibly changed by it, their eyes shifting color. They began throwing themselves onto the train tracks. As the train came closer, they moved toward it as if in a trance. In the chaos, Sebastian almost fell onto the tracks, but somehow managed to stay on his feet, narrowly escaping disaster. Shortly after, his wife called, telling him to come home right away and pick up their daughter Anna from school. As things around him got worse, Sebastian watched his co-workers take their own lives right in front of him. Terrified, he ran from the office. Outside, a man suddenly dropped from above and landed on his car, crushing it on impact. The city had fallen into complete chaos. People ran in panic. Vehicles moved out of control and crashes broke out everywhere. Somehow, Sebastian managed to escape and rush to Anna's school. When he got there, he found the staff dead and the building destroyed. Fires tore through classrooms and children were frozen in terror. He grabbed Anna and shielded her as they made their way through the destruction. On the way, they passed a church where a priest stopped him. The priest told Sebastian that what was happening was a holy gift, a miracle. But Sebastian had no interest in miracles. He only wanted to keep his family safe. Without another word, he kept moving. Outside, he finally spotted his wife. But moments after they were reunited, a speeding car came out of nowhere and hit her, killing her instantly. 9 months later, Sebastian and his daughter Anna are spending time together in an abandoned skateboarding stadium. Their peace is suddenly broken when they hear a noise and run, only to be ambushed by a group of blind robbers who take all their food. Though hurt, Sebastian tries to fight back, but Anna stops him. Later, he thanks her, realizing the attackers were just hungry and desperate. On the radio, a warning plays saying that strange aliens are outside, and everyone is told not to look directly at them as they can control minds and make people hurt themselves. Sebastian and Anna cover their eyes and go outside. He walks up to some strangers who also have their eyes covered with cloth and asks if they have any food, since he hasn't eaten in days. At first, they hesitate, but Sebastian tells them he is an engineer and knows the location of his company's generator, which can provide electricity and heat. Suddenly, the strange energy of the alien presence begins closing in on them. So they decide to bring Sebastian along. They take him to their secret hideout, where many survivors are hiding. One of the men, Marielle, spots Sebastian's injury and tells him to see Liliana, a doctor who is also in hiding. She treats Sebastian's wounds and asks what happened. He says he got into a fight with some thugs. Later, she gives him food, and all the survivors gather around a fire. A blind man begins to share his story, explaining that the aliens almost got him, but he blinded himself with a knife and barely escaped. He also says the aliens mark their victims with a strange eye symbol on their foreheads. Later, when everyone is asleep in a bus, Sebastian suddenly starts the vehicle. Liliana asks him why he's turning it on, but Sebastian coldly says that everything will be fine and speeds up. The others wake up and try to stop him, but he grips the wheel tightly and drives faster, destroying the facility and everything in his path. Eventually, the bus crashes and flips over, injuring everyone. At that moment, the aliens arrive. Marielle, badly injured, stumbles out of the bus and accidentally looks at the aliens. He instantly kills himself with a sharp piece of shrapnel. Liliana also steps out, trembling, but keeping her eyes shut. Sebastian calmly tells her not to worry and forcefully pries open her eyes with his fingers. She catches a glimpse of the aliens and dies. Another man spots the aliens and tosses his cigarette into the leaking fuel from the bus, causing an explosion that engulfs everything in flames. Sebastian sees the golden light of souls leaving the victims' bodies. It is then revealed that Anna is just an illusion in Sebastian's mind. She praises him, calling him a savior, and says he did the right thing because now everyone's souls will be in a better place. Sebastian walks through a dark corridor and comes across several people nailed to a wall, their hands bound. Most are already dead, but one man is barely holding on. With his last breath, the man whispers that the creatures tormenting them are monsters from another galaxy and that they will kill everyone. But Sebastian, unmoved, quietly insists they are angels. He gently closes the dying man's eyes and imagines his soul floating up into the sky. Moments later, Sebastian sets off to find his next victims. He notices a woman entering a pharmacy with her eyes covered by cloth. Like many others who've learned not to look at the aliens, she hears his footsteps and stops, asking who he is. She introduces herself as Claire. Sebastian begins repeating his usual lie, claiming he's starving and hasn't eaten in days, but knows where a working generator is. Soon, two of Claire's companions, Rafa and Octavio, arrive with their two dogs. Suspicious, they argue against taking in another stranger, but Claire is intrigued by Sebastian's mention of the generator and insists he might be useful. Just then, the alien presence draws near, leaving no time to argue. They take Sebastian and flee to their hideout, which is a secured nuclear bunker. Inside, Sebastian meets the rest of the group. Among them are Sophia, a young German girl, and an older couple, Isabel and Roberto. Claire gives Sophia a piece of chocolate she had saved, lighting up the little girl's face with joy. Rafa and Octavio pull Sebastian aside, pressing him for more details about the generator. In Sebastian's mind, Anna warns him not to tell the truth and urges him to lie and get them outside as soon as possible. He follows her advice and admits he made up the story about the generator. Furious, Rafa and Octavio prepare to throw him out. But just as they're about to remove him, Sophia steps in, speaking in German. None of the others understand her, but Sebastian translates, claiming she said not to throw him out. This surprises the group because until now, no one understood Sophia or even knew where she was from. Curious and grateful, the group decides not to exile Sebastian and instead gives him the task of learning more about Sophia's background. Sophia begins to share her story with Sebastian, translating. She explains that she and her mother were going up a ramp when they heard shouting. Panic broke out. People were pushing and shoving. She saw people throwing themselves into a river. Somehow, she and her mother escaped and hid inside a van. While in the van, they heard a radio broadcast mentioning a safe place in the mountains. Hearing this, the group asks Sophia where it is. She doesn't know exactly, so she picks up a piece of chalk and starts drawing it. On the wall, she sketches a castle sitting on top of a mountain. Claire suggests it might be Monuit Castle. Sophia continues her story, explaining that she and her mother blindfolded themselves and left the van. But during their escape, she fell and got separated from her mother. She never saw her again. Overwhelmed with emotion, she begins to cry, and Claire gently comforts her, telling the others she found Sophia there and took her in. The group debates whether to head toward the castle. Sebastian argues that it's worth trying and that other survivors and possibly Sophia's mother might be there. He adds that they can't survive much longer in the bunker. Roberto disagrees, warning that it would be a suicide mission. However, when the group votes, the majority choose to go. Roberto reluctantly agrees. That night, Sebastian sees the shadowy figure of Anna again, who begins influencing him with her words. Under her manipulation, he quietly cuts the dog's ropes, planning for them to break free when chaos hits the next day. As the aliens arrive, as he predicted, morning brings turmoil. The aliens show up and the dog's ropes snap, causing confusion. The moment the aliens appear, everyone relives their most terrifying memories. Claire is haunted by her brother's death. Sophia hears her mother's voice urging her to take off her blindfold. Just as she starts to reach for it, Octavio stops her in time. Elsewhere, Rafa desperately searches for his dogs. When he can't find them, he panics, removes his blindfold, and stares directly at the aliens. Instantly overwhelmed, he smashes his head into a car windshield, killing himself. Claire, still trapped in memories of her brother, sits holding her head in pain. Octavio tries to pull her back to reality and looks for a safe zone. Meanwhile, Roberto searches for Rafa, but is bitten deep on the arm by one of the dogs, now under alien control. Blood pours from the wound. Octavio shouts for everyone to move toward the safe zone. He calls for Rafa, but cannot find him. Claire painfully tells him that Rafa is dead. Hearing this, Octavio breaks down in grief. Inside, Isabel tends to Roberto's wound. As she bandages him, Roberto mutters that he heard she cheated on him. Isabel insists it's not true and explains that the aliens are distorting his memories to weaken him emotionally. Later, Octavio explains that he believes the aliens may have come from a quantum realm. He theorizes that they change their form based on people's deepest fears and use those fears to control their victims. Claire opens up about her brother's struggle. He suffered from clinical depression, and despite being a psychiatrist, she couldn't help him. The guilt still haunts her. She turns to Sebastian and asks what he heard during the alien attack, but he cuts her off, asking instead where Sophia is. Claire prepares to look for her, but Sebastian gently tells her to rest and says he'll check on the girl. He finds Sophia sitting alone, crying. He kneels beside her and offers her a locket, the same one he once gave Anna on her birthday. The scene shifts to a memory from 7 months earlier on Anna's birthday. Sebastian kisses her and promises they'll celebrate soon. Back in the present, Anna's voice echoes in his mind, asking why he gave her pendant to Sophia. As he stands there, Claire walks in. Noticing something is wrong, she asks who Anna is. Is she his wife or daughter? Since Sophia's pendant has Anna's name engraved on it, she presses further, asking if it was Anna's voice he heard when the aliens arrived. Claire reveals she is a psychiatrist and offers to help him, assuring him she wants nothing in return. She explains that what he's hearing is an illusion used by the aliens to mess with his mind. She shares that she too once heard the voice of her deceased brother, but eventually realized it wasn't real. Behind Claire, Anna's illusion whispers to Sebastian again, urging him not to believe Claire. Sebastian is clearly conflicted, almost convinced by Claire, when suddenly a loud scream from Roberto interrupts. His infection has worsened, spreading quickly. Claire urgently says they need antibiotics. She, Sebastian, and Octavio blindfold themselves and go to search. Claire enters a bathroom filled with medicine cabinets, while Sebastian and Octavio search another room. Octavio finds no medicine, but comes across food. He calls out to Sebastian, asking if everything is okay. Meanwhile, Anna's voice whispers in Sebastian's mind again. Distracted, he replies that all the windows are shut and it's safe to come back. However, when Octavio enters, he sees a window wide open. Removing his blindfold for a brief moment, he spots the aliens and is instantly overwhelmed. In a frenzy, he grabs a knife and repeatedly stabs himself in the stomach until he dies. Sebastian watches in horror, shaken. Unlike the others, he doesn't see Octavio's soul rise from his body. He feels deep regret. Claire rushes in, drawn by the noise, and quickly tells Sebastian they need to leave. Anna's voice urges him to remove Claire's blindfold, but Claire pulls him away before he can act. Back in the bunker, they rejoin Isabel and Roberto. Isabel asks where Octavio is, and Claire tearfully says he didn't make it. She gives the antibiotics to Isabel for Roberto's treatment. Isabel then asks why Sebastian is sitting apart from everyone. Claire explains he is deeply shaken and thinks Octavio died because he left the window open. It's clear he's crushed by guilt. Later, Anna confronts Sebastian again, asking why he didn't remove Claire's blindfold. Sebastian replies that when Octavio died, he didn't see his soul rise. Anna accuses him of losing faith. Sebastian, broken, admits that maybe he's not a savior. Maybe he's a monster. As Claire, Sebastian, and the elderly couple venture outside again, they run into people under alien control known as seers. The leader of the seers is the same priest Sebastian met at the church 9 months earlier. In the chaos, Roberto and Isabel get separated from the rest. The aliens surround them quickly. They understand it's the end. Roberto looks at Isabel one last time, longing for a final moment together. They remove their blindfolds, share a silent farewell, and are overtaken. Meanwhile, Claire discovers Sebastian's goggles, through which he can see clearly. The truth hits her. Sebastian has been lying the entire time. He isn't just another survivor, he is working with the aliens. She realizes he likely caused Octavio and Rafa's deaths, and possibly many more. Taking Sophia by the hand, she moves away from him, determined to protect the girl. Sebastian continues to hear Anna's voice. She manipulates him constantly, whispering that only 2 more need to die for their reunion to be complete. Claire leads Sophia to the top of the bunker. She tells her to keep her blindfold on no matter what happens, but Sebastian follows them. Claire tries to keep her distance, missteps due to her covered eyes, falls from the top and tumbles down the stairs, losing consciousness. Now Sophia stands alone in front of Sebastian. Anna's voice urges him to remove the girl's blindfold. He reaches out, almost giving in, but emotion overwhelms him. He can't do it. He doesn't want to hurt Sophia. Instead, he hugs her. Something inside him shifts. For the first time in a long while, he begins to feel human again. A flashback plays. 7 months. Earlier on Anna's birthday, Sebastian is celebrating with his daughter. The joy doesn't last. The priest suddenly breaks into their home. He takes Anna and Sebastian to the rooftop. There, he smears ink in the shape of an eye on Anna's forehead and forces her to open her eyes. She immediately falls under the alien's control and throws herself off the edge. Sebastian is shattered. He tries to attack the priest, but then makes direct eye contact with the aliens. That single moment is enough. They take control of his mind. Anna's ghostly form appears beside him, holding his hand, promising they will be reunited. Back in the present, Sebastian goes back to Claire and Sophia. He tries to explain and express remorse. Claire doesn't trust him and keeps her distance, but Sebastian insists he was deceived. He truly believed he was chosen, but now he knows it was all a lie. He only wants to help them survive. Unlike the others, he can see the aliens clearly and stay alive. It's the only advantage he has. On the other side, the seers begin pursuing them. Sebastian leads Claire and Sophia away. One of the seers catches up and attacks him, pressing her fingers into his eyes to blind him. With a sudden burst of strength, Sebastian pushes her away. She falls and dies instantly. Without wasting time, Sebastian rushes Claire and Sophia into a car and drives toward the mountain castle. Along the way, he keeps catching glimpses of Anna's shadow, urging him to turn back, but he pushes on. Eventually, they reach the base of the cable lift tower, the only route leading directly to the mountain where the army has set up a safe zone inside the castle. He parks the car at the main entrance, blocking any path the seers might take. He helps Claire and Sophia out and then sets fire to the car by igniting its fuel tank. The cable lift is their final escape. As Claire and Sophia prepare to board, Sebastian tells them it's time to part ways. Claire urges him to come with them, but he insists on staying behind to slow down the seers. Claire reluctantly says goodbye and begins the climb with Sophia. During the climb, Sophia nearly slips through a gap and starts to fall. Claire reacts instantly, grabbing her hand. Realizing they won't make it otherwise, she removes her blindfold to help guide them, knowing the risk. Meanwhile, the priest arrives with his followers. Just as they reach the burning car, it explodes, cutting off their path. Furious but determined, the priest calls out to Sebastian, claiming he has been chosen by the aliens for a greater purpose. He urges Sebastian to give in, but Sebastian refuses. He tells them he is no slave to those creatures. Gripping a metal rod, he prepares to fight. With defiance in his eyes, he declares he doesn't believe in their false god. Meanwhile, Claire reaches the top of the tower and tries to start the lift, but finds there's no power. She notices a huge bell, and a new idea comes to her. She starts ringing the bell loudly to draw in the aliens. The sound pulls them in, and their energy powers the chairlift. At the same time, Sebastian's mind begins to be taken over by the aliens again. They try to convince him that the priest is here to free them all. Through the flames of the burning car, he sees the image of Anna standing in the fire. The vision almost breaks him, but he forces himself to focus. The aliens close in on Claire and Sophia, trying to take over their minds. Claire begins to hear her brother's voice again. Sebastian struggles against the image of Anna in flames, but tells himself she's gone. This is not real. With renewed resolve, he strikes the priest across the stomach with the rod. Sophia nears the edge of the tower and is about to fall, but Claire catches her just in time. Claire then focuses on the chairlift, realizing it takes exactly 4 seconds for the doors to close. With that knowledge, she plans to jump at the right moment. Meanwhile, the priest attacks Sebastian, wounding him badly. Blood pours from Sebastian's body, but he refuses to give up. The priest mocks him, saying he won't survive, but Sebastian replies that maybe he won't, but Claire and Sophia will. He will give his life for them, for his lost daughter. Claire fights the alien influence, counting the seconds in her head, and when the moment comes, she jumps onto the chairlift with Sophia. They reach safety. Claire silently thanks Sebastian. Meanwhile, Sebastian takes his final breaths. Anna appears to him in his last moments. She holds him gently as he slips away. Claire and Sophia finally reach the safety of the castle. Soldiers escort them for an inquiry. The facility is large, filled with survivors. Sophia's mother spots her, and an emotional reunion follows. She thanks Claire for bringing her daughter home. Soldiers take Claire for an examination. A medical officer checks her eyes to make sure she hasn't been under alien influence. Claire says she isn't aligned with the aliens, but she explains someone from their side helped her reach safety. She also mentions that many others still need help. The officer then injects Claire with a chemical marker. Claire asks why. The officer explains it detects genetic changes that happen due to stress and suffering. Changes that turn people into seers, individuals who can see the aliens without dying but become controlled by them. Claire realizes this must have happened to Sebastian. When his daughter died right in front of him, his DNA likely changed, making him capable of seeing the aliens but unable to die. That's why they turned him into one of their seers. The officer adds that if Claire has also become a seer, her blood could help create a vaccine. Meanwhile, in a laboratory, 2 army scientists use the blood of a captured seer to create a vaccine. They've tested it on rats, managing to keep them alive for 48 seconds after seeing an alien shadow. Now they've developed a new serum compound they believe can extend survival to a full minute. They test it on rats, but the experiment fails again, and the rats die quickly. The captured seer continues crying out, desperately wanting to see the aliens. And this is where the story ends. See you in the next recap.